Hello and welcome back to another FPL video. Today we're going to take a look at all the stats that you could possibly need to decide the best free hit team for game week 29. So we're going to take a look at each individual position, looking at the forwards, looking at the midfielders, the defenders and the goalkeepers for this week, and then we'll put together a free hit team that, based on stats, looks like it is going to do the best this week. So of course, if you're using your free hit this week, it's probably because you've got a lot of Liverpool, Palace, Newcastle or Aston Villa players, because they are the four teams that do not have fixtures. So these are the games on your screen right here, which is obviously what we are going to be focusing on, but it's probably going to be a bit of a longer one, so let's jump straight into it. So starting off with the attacking fixtures, this is going to be useful for picking our forwards and our midfielders, essentially going to be teams that look quite weak in defence. And this is going to be kind of the theme of the video. We're going to take a look at recent form and we're going to look at seasonal form as well. So basically, expected goals conceded, the top 8 in the last 5 matches on the left hand side, and then expected goals conceded for the season, the top 8 on the right hand side. Basically on the far left is where you're going to see teams that are playing against someone this week that does appear on either of these lists. So last 5 matches and throughout the course of the season is Southampton, who are very clearly the worst defence. So again, you'd be wanting to pick attackers from the team which is playing against Southampton, which this week is going to be Wolves. So that would have been an absolute nail on for someone like Cunha, but of course with him being out, it doesn't really look too great for Wolves attackers as a whole. We've got Villa in there as well. Obviously they don't have a fixture this week. Spurs are the 3rd worst defence in the last 5 matches, and they're actually the 4th worst defence throughout the entire season. Now of course they have had injury problems throughout that. They do have the likes of Christian Romero and Van de Ven back now, so their defence is looking a lot better. They're not playing the likes of Gray and stuff at centre back, Ben Davies and stuff like that. So I expect them to be a little bit better in defence over the coming weeks, but recently they have been very, very poor. Man United are in there as the 4th worst in the last 5 matches and the 5th worst over the course of the season. Obviously Leicester are playing against them, so we're not really going to be picking Leicester attackers, so there's nothing really to go off of. Bournemouth obviously playing against Brentford. Wissa and Mbeumo could be really nice picks, with Bournemouth being the 5th worst defence in the last 5 matches. We've got Ipswich, Leicester and Forest in there as well, and then throughout the season you've got Wolves, West Ham and Brentford who do finalise that top 8. So again, the left hand side of fixtures is going to be the teams that you want to be buying attackers and midfielders from, at least that you should be taking into consideration. Now, taking a look at some of the form for our strikers as well, the players highlighted in red, of course, are blanking this week, so we're not going to take any consideration into those guys. For the last 5 matches, it is Chris Wood with the highest expected goal involvement with 3.5, followed by João Pedro with 3.4, Beto from Everton with 3.3, Wissa on 3.3 as well, and then Haaland just makes the top 8 with 2.5 XGI in his last 5 matches. He does, however, top it for the entire season, no surprise there. Isak and Watkins obviously taking 2nd and 3rd, but blanking this week. Wissa makes it into this list as well, so he's looking like a very promising striker. Chris Wood, again, the same with him, making it into both lists, and of course Jimenez does finish that off. He is coming up against Spurs, who, as I said, have been pretty weak defensively recently. So with that being said, this is the short list of strikers that I have put together. We've got Erling Haaland, Chris Wood, João Pedro, Wissa, Jimenez and Beto as well. And obviously when we're trying to decide who the 3 best players to put in our team would be, it's best to just kind of look at everything we have already kind of analysed. So in terms of being in the top 8 for expected goal involvements in the last 5, we have all of our strikers apart from Jimenez in this list. In the top 8 for expected goal involvements over the course of the season is all of our strikers again, other than João Pedro and Beto. Beto, of course, someone who has recently came into form with the arrival of David Moyes, and then João Pedro has been a bit of a troll throughout the entire season, who's been very, very on and off. Then, of course, we've got the good offensive fixture. You know, a team that is playing against one of the poorer teams in the top 8 for expected goals conceded, either in the last 5 or throughout the course of the season. So we've only got 2 players in here that do tick all 3 boxes, and that is Chris Wood and that is Wisa. Now, we do have 3 players that do tick 2 of the boxes, and that's Erling Haaland, Raul Jimenez and Beto. So who is going to be the third striker? Well, looking at the scoring odds, the return chances and the predicted points, it is all favouring Erling Haaland. Expected minutes, it is favouring Beto, but Haaland's only 1 less, so he can technically take that as well. In terms of chances down the middle, Haaland's actually playing probably against the best defence of the 3. However, he has obviously taken the goal odds by a significant amount, the return chances by over 14% on anyone else, and he has the highest predicted points as well. So that does really make this decision quite easy for us. Erling Haaland is going to be the third striker. So that starts us off with a front 3 of Erling Haaland. We're sticking the captaincy armband on him for right now. If you do want to look more in depth into the captaincy for this week, I will have a captaincy video out on Thursday, so make sure you subscribe with notifications on for that, and then we'll look at all the stats to decide who the best captain is for game week 29. For now, we're shoving it on Erling Haaland for obvious reasons. We've got Chris Wood in there, and we've got Wisa as well, the 2 best strikers, in my opinion, that you can get for free hit 29. So let's jump into the midfielders. So as far as form goes for midfielders, over the course of the season and recent matches, there is no doubt that Mohamed Salah is at the top. Of course, he is blanking this week, so he is not going to be anywhere near this team. Ismail Assar is actually in second for form, and he's made it into 5th place for the course of the season. So another really good pick, but another player who does blank this week. Other than that, we've got Cole Palmer, who technically tops both of these lists of the playing players for this week. Enzo Fernandez, as well as making his way in there, who is in at 4th place for XGI over the last 5 matches. Diaz and Szoboszlai, obviously Liverpool had a lot of double game weeks, so this does make it a little bit skewed, having an extra game or 2 in there. But we do have Kluivert and we do have Mbeumo in there as well. Both players who do make the top 8 for XGI from midfielders in the course of the season as well. So Palmer, Mbeumo, Kluivert in both lists. We've got Bruno Fernandes in there as well, who's making it in 4th place for XGI, and Semenyo in there, another Bournemouth midfielder that's definitely worth considering. Now obviously when trying to pick 5 midfielders it's going to be a lot more difficult, so we do need to try and condense it down a little bit. So we've got points as well, just to kind of take a look more into the recent form of some of our midfielders. And again, with the Liverpool, double game weeks and stuff, it is making things a little bit skewed, with Salah, Diaz and Szoboszlai making the top 4 for points recently. Sarr also makes it in there, but of course all of these players do not have a match this week. But Gibbs White is actually the top of the list for points in the last 5 matches. Forest do have Ipswich away. Again, we already have Chris Wood in our team. Gibbs White could be an option if you were considering another Forest attacker. Bruno Fernandes is in here as well. He's 2nd for points in the last 5 matches of players that play in Game Week 29, and he also makes the top 8 for points throughout the course of the season. The same with Son, a bit of an under the radar one who you maybe didn't consider. He's playing against Fulham away from home in Game Week 29, but he is sitting in 7th for points over the last 5 matches and 7th for points from midfielders over the course of the season. So he could be a little bit of a rogue shout. I don't think he's going to be very highly owned for this match, but it is definitely one to consider. And then we've got Pedro Neto in there as well. He has the game against Arsenal. For points throughout the season, as we already mentioned, Palmer, Mbeumo, Kluivert, Bruno, all in there, Son as well, and we've got Jared Bowen, who is in 8th place for points from midfielders this season. So we've got a bigger shortlist, of course, as we do have more players to choose for this one. So we've got 8 players on our shortlist. We've got Cole Palmer, Heung-min Son, Kluivert, Semenyo, Mbeumo, Bruno Fernandes, Gibbs White, and also Jared Bowen in there as well. We've got 5 boxes to check off for each of these players, and obviously we're looking for players who check off the most. So we've got the top 8 for XGI in the last 5 and the course of the season, top 8 for points in the last 5, and the top 8 for points from the season. And then of course the good offensive fixture that we obviously showed at the start of the video. So players who tick off the most boxes, firstly Justin Kluivert, ticking off 4 out of the 5. He's in the top 8 for XGI in the last 5 matches, the top 8 for XGI from the season, top 8 for points from the season, and he also has a good offensive fixture. So he's definitely the one that you want to choose over someone like Semenyo, who only does tick 2 of our 5 boxes. We've got 2 other players who tick 4 boxes, and that's Brian Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes. So for me, Kluivert, Mbeumo, Fernandes, that's going to be your 3 midfielders. Other than that, Cole Palmer's the only other one who ticks 3 or more. Everyone else either ticks 1 or 2 boxes. So I think I'm going to leave Palmer in the back of my mind for now as a potential player that we could bring in. But again, he doesn't have the best fixture against Arsenal. His form's not been really great at all. So we're going to have Kluivert and Mbeumo and Bruno making it into the team. So slotting those guys in for now, we now have 3 players up front and 3 players in midfield. Again, as I mentioned, potentially having Cole Palmer in there. We'll wait and see what happens with the defence. But a really nice team, shaping up really nicely. Let's take a look at our defence. So there's really 2 things that we want from our defenders, and that's going to be attack and returns and clean sheets. So looking at the best defensive fixtures for game week 29, we have the exact same thing as the offensive fixtures, but we're looking at XG this time. So these are going to be the teams with the lowest expected goals over the last 5 matches and over the course of the season. And Leicester is the team with the worst attacking threat. Now they're playing against Manchester United away from home, so a Manchester United defender could definitely be something that we do consider for this week. Next is Southampton, who again are second worst for form and also second worst throughout the whole season. Again, they're playing against Wolves as well, so a Wolves defender could also be on the radar. There is a couple of surprising ones in there for recent form, the likes of Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle, all doing pretty poorly when it comes to creating goals. Now Chelsea are playing against Arsenal, Brighton are playing against Man City, both away fixtures, and of course Newcastle don't have a fixture this week. So again, like I said, all the teams on the left hand side are playing against an opponent who do appear at least once on this list. So we've got Wolves, Nottingham Forest, who have been a really good defence, but more recently have fell off a little bit. Man United playing against the worst attack in Leicester. Leicester defenders we're not going to look at. Chelsea and Brighton, again, some really hard fixtures. It probably isn't going to make it into a free hit team. And then we've got Everton, who are playing against West Ham, who are the 3rd worst attack of the last 5 matches, and they are the 7th worst attack throughout the course of the season. Everton, who again have been very, very solid in recent matches. And then West Ham, of course, as well. They are playing against Everton, who are the 5th worst for expected goals. So realistically, I'm looking at this and thinking Nottingham Forest, Wolves, Man United and Everton are going to be the 4 defences that we're going to look to target. Now, as far as clean sheet odds go for this week, we are looking at Arsenal with a 42% chance of a clean sheet, which I'm very surprised about considering they're playing against Chelsea. I know that I probably would have, backed them to maybe keep a clean sheet this week being at home, but having them at the top of the list, I am quite surprised about. The same with Man City, with a 35% chance, playing against a Brighton that are on very, very good form right now. I think they've won their last 5 games as well. Everton, a team that I expected to see here. Forest, the same. And then we've got Man United in there as well. 3 teams we've already spoke about. Bournemouth have made it in there with a 28% chance of keeping a clean sheet against Brentford, which is quite surprising. And then finally Wolves are our teams with the clean sheet odds above 25%. So again, the 4 teams that we mentioned are up here: Everton, Nottingham Forest, Man United and Wolves. All 4 of them with weak attacking teams and clean sheet odds above 25%. You can also throw in Bournemouth, Man City and Arsenal just in case you're looking for anyone extra. So as defensive form goes, the lists are very heavily dominated by players who aren't playing this week. Now we've got Munoz in there, we've got Trent in there, we've got Robertson, Mitchell and Lacroix. Again, players who unfortunately don't have a fixture in game week 29. So we are going to have to look around that for other players. Now, Diogo Dalot has made it into the top for expected goal involvements from defenders. So he's going to be our number one pick for expected goal involvements in recent matches, and he also has made it into 8th place throughout the course of the season. So we've already spoke about Man United being a pretty decent team to have a defender from, with Leicester being the worst attack in the league, and Dalot's made it into XGI for form and XGI for the course of the season, so he could be a really good pick for our free hit squad. Cresswell from West Ham, they also had a good defensive fixture up against Everton, and then we've got Mazraoui in there as well, another Man United defender. So if you wanted to double up, potentially go for 2 differentials. I don't think Dalot and Mazraoui are going to be very highly owned for this week, and again, Man United don't exactly have a plethora of attackers that you can go for, so maybe if you wanted to complete that triple up against Leicester, Mazraoui and Dalot could make really good options. For the course of the season, however, Vardiol is in there. Again, Man City were second for clean sheet odds. Vardiol could be a really nice pick with a decent XGI as well. We've got Pedro Porro from Spurs, he's playing away to Fulham. We've got Davis from Ipswich, they are at home to Nottingham Forest this week, and then of course Diogo Dalot completes the list as well. As far as points go in recent matches, Cucurella has been a standout. He's been absolutely fantastic in the last couple of matches, more specifically the last 2 matches. Don't even need to look at the last 5. He did pick up 15 points in game week 27, and I can't remember how many points he got last week, but he did pick up the only goal of the match, a clean sheet, and the bonus points again. So big hauls coming from him over the last 2 matches, coming into game week 29 on great form. However, it is a very difficult fixture away from home to Arsenal. We've got Jed Spence in there from Spurs, who again is basically going to be owned by no one this week if you wanted a differential. Then we've got Nico Williams as well from Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest do provide a very good range of defenders that you can pick from, with Williams, Milenkovic and Aina all being very good options and all appearing on this list. Obviously Aina second for points from defenders, Milenkovic 5th for points from defenders as well. We've also got Gabriel and Saliba in there. Again, Arsenal are top for clean sheet odds this week, so they could be a really nice pick. And then of course Vardiol in there as well. So once again, we have a big short list of 8 defenders who have all appeared in the recent slides. We have Vardiol, Gabriel, Milenkovic, Aït-Nouri, Dalot, Mazraoui, Pedro Porro and Cucurella. I have went for only Milenkovic from Nottingham Forest because I do believe he is going to be the best defender from there. Obviously you can always double up and go for an Aina or a Williams depending on your budget if you wanted to. But again, looking at the players that do tick off the most boxes from everything that we have looked at, we've got Dalot in there, who is the only player that does tick off 4 boxes. So we are going to lock in Dalot for our free hit. But outside of him, there isn't really too many options for players that tick off a lot of the boxes. We have a few that do tick off 3 of the 6, and of course I would imagine that the most important ones are going to be the bottom 2 with the good defensive fixture and the high chance of clean sheet odds, and you also want to try throw in high expected goal involvement in there as well. So for me, throwing in Vardiol, he is obviously top 8, second place I think for expected goal involvements throughout the course of the season. High clean sheet odds for him this week against Brighton, would be going for him as well. And also I really like the idea of going for the double Man United defence. Again, Leicester very poor when it comes to attacking threat. So Mazraoui being in the top 8 for expected goal involvement in recent games, good defensive fixture and over 25% for clean sheet odds is also looking like a really nice pick. And then of course finally the only other player who has taken off 3 of the 6 boxes is going to be Milenkovic. Top 8 for points, Nottingham Forest, keeping a lot of clean sheets this season, and they obviously have the game against Ipswich, which is going to be a really nice defensive fixture, and they also have the over 25% clean sheet odds. So throwing all those players in and finally completing our outfield squad. We have our 10 players on the pitch, and it is looking very, very promising. We have Vardiol, who is going to team up with Haaland and double up with Manchester City. We've got Dalot and Mazraoui from Man United, and we are going to have the triple up, which I think is going to be a really nice triple up going into this match. Hopefully getting attacking returns from those guys and a clean sheet. Then we've got Milenkovic as well with the Ipswich fixture. Again, Forest, who have been very, very solid over the course of the season. Would definitely hope for a clean sheet from him. Now that just leaves us with a goalkeeper to choose and of course a bench. The bench really isn't that important on a free hit, as you expect to pick a full 11 of players that are going to play. So let's jump into it and see what goalkeeper looks best. So now that we know what teams have the best clean sheet odds and the best defensive fixtures for goalkeepers, the only other thing we really need to look at is saves. Now this is the saves from the recent 5 matches and of course the saves throughout the course of the season. And Aaron Ramsdale is making a really good point to make his way into a free hit squad. He's top for saves by 8, which is a large amount, more than anyone else, and he's also second for saves throughout the course of the season. We've got Vicario, who's come back. He's now second for saves. Onana's in there. If you wanted to maybe go against the double defence in Mazraoui and Dalot, you could look at Onana if you wanted. But we do have Sells in there, who is going to be another really nice option. Of course, we already have the double up of Nottingham Forest and Milenkovic and Chris Wood. We could complete that with Sells in goals, who is getting saves and has a really nice chance of clean sheet odds. Again, he's also third for saves throughout the course of the season so far. Hermansen from Leicester isn't going to be a pick that we're going to choose. Kepa kind of similar, and then Palmer of course from Ipswich is another one that we're really not going to be considering. So we're left with 6 goalkeepers that we could potentially choose from this week. We've got Pickford, Fleck and Sells, Onana, Ramsdale and Kepa. And again, there is only 2 goalkeepers that do tick off all 4 boxes here. Top 8 for saves in the last 5, top 8 for saves throughout the season, a great defensive fixture this week, and the over 25% clean sheet odds. And that's going to be Sells and Onana. Now of course we already have the triple up for Man United, so that only leaves 1 goalkeeper for us, and that is Sells. There is definitely a couple of other options in here that you could potentially go for. Maybe if you did want Gibbs White in your team, who we obviously looked at, or the double up in Nottingham Forest defence. You could potentially look at Jordan Pickford, who is of course up there for saves this season, a really good defensive fixture, and is at home to West Ham, which could make a big difference. And they also have the above 25% clean sheet odds. So if you wanted to get an Everton player in, which we obviously don't have in this free hit team so far, Pickford could make a really nice pick this week if you don't want to double up on Nottingham Forest. So of course we are going to throw Sells in goals, and we finally have our completed 11. This is what I believe is the best free hit team that you can get for game week 29. And if we can throw some players on the bench as well, again we still have enough money to afford Cole Palmer. The team value is in the top right at 99 million, as you can see. So potentially if you didn't want to go for 4 defenders, again Milenkovic was someone that we did choose last minute as our 4th defender. You could go for Cole Palmer if you do feel like going that way and playing the 3-4-3 instead. But personally, I've got him in the bench. He's a nice option to come off if something happens last minute to any of our players. And of course the rest of the bench is just players who are, you know, the cheapest in their positions throughout the entire game. So that is it. The best free hit 29 team that you can get according to all of the important stats. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like on it. Make sure to subscribe as well. We'll have transfer tips, the captaincy video, and the team selection out by the deadline. So make sure you keep an eye on those ones. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.